Welcome. I'm Claire Schaefer. This Christian Dior design is flattering, but not extraordinary. The construction is traditional haute couture, so why is it special? It has a bias stay and easy to cover shoulder pads. The dress was designed by Mark Bohan for the Spring Summer Collection 1985. The fabric is a silk jacquard. Sadly, the dress had already lost its belt when I bought it. The dress is unlined. This is typical of a dress made in a fleur or dressmaking atelier. Linings are rarely used in dressmaking because the lining might interfere with the drape of the design. Most designs, like this dress, have an underlining. The haute couture label for Dior includes the collection date and garment's number. The dress's underlining is silk charmeuse. Underlinings are called backings or mountings in couture. I bought this dress to wear. Later, I used it for inspiration for a Vogue pattern. The surplus bodice is bias cut and flattering for many figures. There are no stitch darts on the bodice. Instead, it is sheared to a stay at the waist. The close-fitting sleeves have 4-inch zippers at the cuffs. There are no visible stitches. The skirt is softly sheared at center front with 2 pleats on each side. The inverted pleat at the hem is 11 inches long and begins about mid-thigh, so the skirt moves attractively when you walk. The inverted pleat is 10 inches wide at the hem. The dress has a center back zipper. The bodice back is eased to the skirt, and the skirt is shaped with 2 darts on each side. Unlike the extended front facings, the facings for the back neckline are cut separately. The slot zipper has a tiny peak at the center, indicating that it was sewn into an open placket. The zipper is made by Riri. It has a hook and eye at the neckline. The hook and eye are tucked under the facing. When the dress is unzipped, you can see the stay at the waistline. The grosgrain waist stay is about 1/2 inch shorter than the skirt, so there is no stress on the zipper when the garment is worn. Grosgrain ribbon is called Petersham in Europe. When the dress is wrong side out on the dress form, there's a lot to see. The charmeuse backing, shoulder pads, bodice seams, extended facings at the neckline and front edges, and the cutaway section at the top of the front pleat. Let's look at the front facings. They are cut in one with the fronts, and they are not the same width. All seams are overcast by hand. The 1-inch wide seams are notched, so they will lie flat when pressed open. The corners are rounded, so they won't curl up. The seams could be trimmed, but narrow seams don't lie as flat when the seams are pressed open as wide ones. The shoulder pads are covered with silk charmeuse. There is a fold on the edge toward the sleeve, and the edges are finished with hand overcasting. The dart at the center removes the excess fabric on the underside of the shoulder pad. The lingerie guard is 1/4 inch longer than the space on the shoulder pad. The shoulder pads extend into the sleeve about 1 inch. The folded edges of the facings have stays, so they have a soft roll and the neckline does not stretch out of shape. The bodice is eased to an organza stay to control the shearing. Then the bodice and skirt were machine stitched together. 1-inch grosgrain is used for the waist stay. The lower edge is aligned with the waist seam. The stay is sewn to the seam allowances. The white organza stay is on the bodice. This is a particularly nice finish at the end of the stay to protect the body from the hooks when the stay is fastened. The grosgrain on the other end of the stay is finished in the usual way. The zipper is sewn in by hand with running stitches. The edges of the zipper tape are felled to the seam allowance to secure the zipper. The backing and tops of the pleats were cut away to reduce bulk at the top of the skirt. Now I'll show you how to make the stays for the neckline. The stays are bias cut strips of organza, which ensure that the neckline will have a soft roll at the folded edges. When I peeked under the other facing, I was surprised to see that the stay was red organza. Even though you probably know how to mark and cut bias, I'll show you this couture method. I have an equilateral right triangle that is on vacation today, so I used a piece of paper to create my bias. This is a pretty straightforward method. Fold the end of the paper up so it is even with one side. Align the long edge of the paper with the fabric straight grain and mark the bias next to the folded edge. I cut the first bias strip 2 inches wide and stretched it using a steam iron, or you can spritz it with water in a spray bottle. The strip narrowed almost 50% to 1 inch, so I cut another strip 3 inches wide for my sample. I've marked the fold line on the garment with thread tracing. Fold over one edge of the bias 3/8 inch to maybe 1/2 inch. Align the bias fold with the fold line on the garment and pin. I have pinned this so you can see the folded edge, but on most garments I would pin the bias to the facing to avoid pin marks on the garment. Fasten the thread on the bias. Then pick up the back of a couple of yarns on the garment fold line. Then pick up a stitch on the bias fold line. I always use a very fine needle when doing this. Relax and don't pull the thread taut. Continue to the end and fasten the thread. Did you recognize that this is a hemming stitch? I think it is easier to make the stitches invisible on the right side of the garment when you're using a hemming stitch instead of a running stitch. This sample shows 2 pressed edges, one with a stay and one without a stay. Can you tell the difference? The difference is subtle. The pressed edge on the front sample has no bias stay. It is flatter than the back sample. You've probably already considered this will make your hemlines more attractive as well. Here is one last look at the bodice. If you liked this video, you might enjoy Yves Saint Laurent's fly front zipper or the flowers of Émile Dupont. I'm Claire Schaefer. Thank you for joining me today.